What's up, guys? This is the Board Game Roamer, and we're taking a quick look at a recent release from Stronghold Games for Terraforming Mars, which is an amazing game. If you have never seen it, you need to check it out. This is called Terraforming Mars Turmoil. This adds another expansion to the Terraforming Mars line by Fricks Games and Stronghold Games. This kind of adds a political aspect and of course augments corporations and gives you a little bit more variant in something other than just a bunch of cards, which if you know anything about Terraforming Mars, you should already know we have plenty of cards. So this is the Kickstarter version. All I've done is take the street drive off. Let's take a quick look at the back here. So we're going to be looking at a board that's going to kind of let you focus your playstyle on different areas, and these areas are basically representative of resources that you have control over and access to in the game. It's going to let you kind of capitalize on those, and it's going to add some milestones and some different things to that to kind of augment those. And really, like, obviously I haven't used this yet, right, in playing, because I just opened it. I actually haven't opened it even yet. But going to kind of let you get a little bit more bang for your buck for some things, so that you can get your engine going a little bit better and maybe specialize even more in some of the things than just having an incorporation that does that well. So let's take a quick look at the inside. Let's see what's in this bad boy. Fortunately, not a lot, although I think I'm still going to struggle with getting it all in the Terraforming Mars box. I actually have managed to this point to get everything in the original box, which is a lot of stuff. But, so what do we have? Well, of course, we have another marker because, yep, you guessed it, we're going to be tracking something else. We have these cubes and these meeples, and basically what these are, actually are they all meeples? Yeah, they represent each of the different factions, but they're just acrylic and generic. There's some generic meeples, which are these, alright, and then there's some actual acrylic ones that match the player colors. Right, so you will have access to these that you can use as a player to manipulate the board. We'll look at that in a second. But as you can see, there's all the player colors, right? So that's that. We have some additional cards here. And let's see, let's take a quick look at some of these cards. Alright, let's look at some of these cards. Are we? Let's see, are these? Oh. These, oh, they're not. There we go. Alright, so what do we got? We've got not a whole lot of cards, which is kind of good. But we do have some different cards. So, of course, we have, well, that's not really a card. But we have additional cards, right? Normal cards that we can purchase for some victory points. Looks like mostly they are looking at some sort of modification to those in-game victory points. All right, most of them are like that. Then we have some of these. which look like, I'm not really sure, honestly. Oh, they look like they're kind of like, they match the board, but I'm not sure what they are. They kind of look like action cards in a way. And I can see based on the iconography, there's like a triangle, a square, and then there's a triangle, square, and a V here. So I'm assuming that that's going to tell you what these can or can't be played with in terms of the game expansions that you need to order to kind of use that content. And then here is, of course, 3 new corporations that deal with the new content, because what's a few more corporations at this point? Then we have some blank build your own, I guess, cards. Set those over there. And then the other pack here we go. So more corporations. Here we go, more corporations. So here's a few more corporations. Again, utilizing, I think, probably the contents of the new expansion. And then we have, oh wow, there's a bunch of these. Oh, okay. Okay, hold on. Let's get these situated here. So those are corporations. These those. Oh, okay. So these does have a different back, and then it's like your bog standard. There we go. So we have about this many extra regular cards designed, I'm sure, to take advantage of a few more things, and I think probably to help kind of utilize some of the resources that in a typical game, maybe towards the end game, especially, like, for example, heat. If you generate a lot of heat towards the end, there's very few cards that are going to let you kind of use that heat for anything decent. So now we have a reason to use those. And then there's these cards, which have this backing, which is a new type. And part of these turned over backwards. Let's get these right ways up. There's a very significant deck full of those. All right, you can see a lot of those cards. Productivity, gain 1 steel for each row steel production. So it looks like this has to do with influence. Maybe this is influence in the political parties. I'm just guessing. And then here is a couple of player aids that tell you what party has what bonuses. So the Green Party typically has, bonuses for trees, and these guys, right? You can see from there. So that's kind of like, you'll know what kind of bonuses you're getting when you control that party, or are part of that party, which is pretty cool. So let's put all these together. Again, this is just a real quick overview. This isn't like how it works or not. I'm just showing you the components so you can see what comes with what. All right, so then we have our how to play guide, which is only, 7 pages. Lots of tech. I mean, I think it'd probably be a pretty good guide. I don't think there's anything like, overly difficult about this. It's just, one more thing, a little bit like one more thing to keep up with. But okay, here we go. So this looks like This is going to be the board. Get this right. It's going to be the board where you use those events. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what it is. Different events, and how times change. So kind of like over the course of the game, you'll see different things come out, and during different eras, certain things will be worth more, or you can get more influence for doing it in that particular era, and kind of interact with the party board in a little bit of a different way instead of just kind of like a standard set way. So this will kind of mix it up and give it a little bit of replayability, which is good. We have some in-game tiles, right? Some new milestones for that. And then here's the actual party board, right? So you've got your, different parties. Oops. Here are your different parties, where all your people sit to see who's over everything, right? And then who's the leader of each party. And then you have where you're going to put your generic party members, and then your party members, and then determine who's the leader, and then based on some other things, who's the leader overall. You just make some decisions on events and things like that, I'm assuming. And then this is something that is really nice. I actually just forgot about this till I saw it. Seems like it's a little bit too late, to be perfectly honest. But they did finally, at least in the Kickstarter version, decide to do, and you can see, right? You see that? Yes, we finally have color dual layer boards. Now they're cardboard, pretty heavy, pretty thick, I think. And so, yeah. So now we have that. If you do not already own some other version of this, either in wood, which is what I have, or something like that, I guess the advantage to this is, if you notice down here, and ironically they didn't give you any, I guess you should use your color cubes to do this, but down here, instead of having the denominations, you're actually just tracking. So it'll track up to 29 of any resource as far as your individual resources. Well, I guess technically 39 if you had the 20 and the 10. And then up to, it looks like 49 money, which is neat. But I can tell you, and I don't know if this is just because I'm that bad a player and I did something wrong, or hopefully I didn't. But I've had more than 49 money, and I've definitely had more than, I've had more than 49 money. So I'm not really sure, because if you look here, right, see how that's like got the section for that to move over, which is fine. But you got the number down here, so it seems kind of superfluous. I'm using that word right. To have that up here and down here. I guess the idea is you could choose which one you want to use, but honestly, at this point, as long as Terraforming Mars has been out, I would think that you would, at least under normal circumstances, if you play it much, would probably be more used to using this and using the colored cubes of the different denominations, gold, silver, bronze, to determine how much you have, than you would be using this. But, hey, whatever floats your boat. But you do get 5 of those. So I guess if nothing else, if you didn't have a double-sided board of some sort, this would give you that double-sided board. Dual layered board. So they at least wouldn't slide off, hopefully, right? But that's about all it would give you. And that actually is the whole box. Right? Yeah, I think that's the whole box. There's not a whole... Really, with this expansion, there's not a ton of stuff. The biggest thing was the party board and the event board, which we saw already, right? These two boards, probably the biggest thing. These, if you did not already had them, are nice, but new milestones, I mean, you do want milestones that match, and then a few more cards, which I guess in their end of things, and seeing as most of those are those event cards, is not that bad. And then, of course, these meeples. There's not very many meeples in each player color, so I guess I don't know. I don't know what that means, to be honest. We'll have to see, won't we? So there you go, folks. That is Turmoil, Terraforming Mars Turmoil, the newest expansion for Terraforming Mars. This was the Kickstarter version, so I'm not sure if what the differences are with the retail, because I did back this, so this will at least tell you what the Kickstarter version is. There may be a few extra things in here, maybe a few extra cards or something like that, but I think I'm excited about it because it's another, it is another board to manipulate, but it's not just another track. I think that having the corporations and having kind of like the events that kind of lets you focus every generation on something different will shake up the gameplay. And I think the whole party political nature of who's in control and decides, what global events get executed and get chosen or whatever. Maybe I don't know. We'll see once we play it. But I like the ideas behind it, and I'm excited to get the final product and the final rule set and check it out and see what it adds in addition to the other expansions like colonies and the other expansions that are out there for Terraforming Mars. Terraforming Mars, I'm not very good at it solo. I'm not going to lie, but I do love the game. It's a lot of fun. The only down thing that I don't like about it is that there's so many cards. I just feel like, especially as you add all the expansions, if you just play, all in with everything, there's just so many cards, and it's a slog fest sometimes to find the cards you want. I think, colonies helps with that to help get you jump started, get you a little bit of an engine. And there are definitely, I think the game by design, you have to be willing to adapt. I mean, I don't think you can just pick a method at the beginning and say, I'm going to, build my engine this specific way. You just kind of have to build it as you get the cards. But there are some cards that there's just not a lot of. And if you play with everything, which is the way that I like to play it, I prefer to play it that way. Man, you're going to have a hard time. You're going to have a real hard time finding some of those cards. But, that is part of the challenge. And like I said, if you do like to play the game, then, hey, that's what matters, right? And really, I think, and I've not necessarily done this myself, tested this, but I think what I would like to do is, maybe try to play, and instead of setting a limit in the solo, say 14 rounds, I would just like to see how many rounds it would take me to get everything to 100%. And try to do the best I could that way. And then just see, instead of having a score, kind of like my TR rating, have a combination of, what's my best score and some sort of like maybe ratio between my best, the score that I have and the number of rounds it took me to get to that point. Because I think for me, 14 turns, 14 generations is just not many, and I feel like by the time I get anything halfway decent, the game's over. And a lot of times I don't get to the point where I can get my engine that close. And if you're somebody that likes to do your thing's optimization and you want that challenge of doing it within a time limit, go for it. Just like any other game, this game, it's your game. You play it whatever makes you have fun. I mean, that's the whole point of what we do, right? That's the whole point of our hobby, is to have fun. If that's the way you have fun with it, even if it's not, some specific standard variant or something like that. That's the important part, right? That you have fun. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for subscribing to the channel, hanging out at the board game Roamer's table, checking out this expansion for Terraforming Mars. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for subscribing. I'm the Board Game Roamer, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, guys.